Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL Chapter 38, Section 18, and Governor Healy's March 29, 2023 revised order extending remote participation by all members in any meeting of a public body, this meeting of the Select Board and Finance Committee will be conducted both in person and via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and a requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website. Committee members and members of the public may attend this meeting in person or remotely. Instructions for remote access can be found at the top of the agenda. Every effort will be made to ensure that those attending remotely can access the proceedings in real time via technological means. Pursuant to MGL 7C 30A Section 20F, after notifying the chair of the body, any person may make a video, audio recording of an open session meeting of a public body or may transmit the meeting through any medium. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any such recordings. This meeting's recording by CTSB, the Town of Great Barrington, Berkshire Edge, and Berkshire Eagle. Any member of the public wishing to speak at the meeting must receive permission of the chair. The listing of agenda items are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. So this is a joint meeting of the Select Board and Finance Committee. The Select Board, all 5 members are here in person. Phil, do you want to do a roll call? Because yours.
Roll call vote. Finance Committee, Ann McGuire, there.
I don't see her.
Richard, you're there.
Don't see him either.
Melina.
Yes.
Madonna.
I am here remotely.
Okay, and I'm here, Phil, and so we have a forum.
Thank you very much. And I will turn this part of the meeting over to Steve and Jason.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you to members of the Select Board, Representative-elect Davis, and members of the Finance Committee. We appreciate your time. I know that you have a very full agenda tonight, and so we've planned for about a half an hour for a discussion in which we intend to update you on the high school building project. Our objective is to introduce ourselves and to talk to you a little bit about the process that has ensued and that will continue to ensue over the course of the next year or so. Our objective tonight is to update you ultimately because our community will need to make a decision a year from now that will have long-term implications for our community. As members of the school building committee, we take our responsibility quite seriously when we think about taxpayer dollars and when we think about the educational program for the children of our community. But we also view you as the leaders of the town of Great Barrington, as the people who have the acumen and the fiduciary responsibility to help make a good decision. And so we're here tonight to ask you for your help and to bring you along in that process so that we can try to make a good decision together. How's that sound to you guys? Great. So my name's Stephen Boyd. I live in West Stockbridge. My daughter went to the high school as a junior in college now. I have a son who is a senior at the high school, and I run a manufacturing, contract design and manufacturing business in the area. I'm going to ask other members of the committee to introduce themselves, and then we have a quick presentation that we're going to try to go through to bring you up to speed on the process that is ensued. We don't have enough time tonight to go through all of the detail. Members of the school building committee as well as our design team are here tonight. I would encourage you, to the degree that you are interested in more detail about the options and about the work at hand, to come to next Monday's community outreach session, which I believe might be at the high school.
It is at the high school.
It is at the high school at 6 p.m. where we will have a little more time and the ability to go through more detail. Of course, we're always available. And as I said, our point here is to ask for your partnership. This is the beginning of a discussion that I hope that we can continue to have over the course of the next year, such that when it comes time to make a decision, we all feel like we can make that decision in the interest of our community. We'll turn it over to our school building committee chair.
I'd just like to echo Steve's points. Thank you very much for having us here and letting us kind of share the information that we have. My name is Jason St. Peter. I'm the chair of the Monument Mountain Building Project. I'm a representative from Stockbridge on the school committee. This is just starting my 10th year. And I'm just going to give a very, very, very brief update on how we got this to this point, and then others are going to go forward from there. So I came on the school committee. I wasn't there for the last vote, but as most of you remember, we had an unsuccessful vote for a renovated monument 11 years ago, and then 10 years ago was the last vote. Since that time, nothing has changed. There's been no significant changes or renovations. To get to that point, it's a multi-year process to get to that vote. So, 15 years ago, the school committee at that time knew that something needed to be done. Monument, it opened in 1968. The educational programming was from the late 50s, early 60s. The building itself, started in the early 60s. And like most of the buildings built in the late 50s, early 60s, and now even the early 70s, it's come to its end, both from an educational standpoint as well as physically and mechanically. So again, this is nothing new. This has been recognized for the last 15 years. For the last 10 years, we've been applying to the MSBA, the Massachusetts School Building Authority, because fortunately they provide a significant amount of money for these projects, and they're involved in well over 90% of all the public school building projects in the state. So it's taken us 10 years to get accepted back into this project for this project, and this is realistically our last shot. This is the third time. They were hesitant to do it after both our past no votes, and the competition has gotten significantly higher. They went with a very small percentage of schools. There's a lot of schools that want their money and need their help. So this is really our last best chance to use their money to go forward. So with that, I'm just going to quickly have everyone else on the committee introduce themselves, and then Donna Danisco from Danisco Architects is going to present where we are right now with the future holds. Thank you very much.
So good evening, I'm Peter Dillon, I'm your superintendent. It's nice to be here to talk.
I think I saw John Benzinger on the call.
Yes, John Benzinger with Skanska. We're the OPM and project owners, project manager.
And good evening, everyone. Donna Danisco with Danisco Design, and Sam Lasky with William Ron Associates, who's partnering up with us on the project, I believe is in attendance as well. So your team is with you in spirit tonight and virtually. So I'm going to try to go really quickly, and then we can circle back with any questions you may have, or as Jason mentioned, we'd love to see you at the community information meeting next Monday night, where there'll be lots of conversation. It will be great to get a deeper dive in the process and where we are. But just to start at the very beginning, as Jason mentioned, our actually really important partner in this is the Mass School Building Authority. As Jason alluded, it's an extremely competitive process, and each district needs to demonstrate an educational and facility need. Monument Mountain was one of 17 schools selected out of 58 schools when you were selected in 2021. It's an arduous process and it's extremely prescriptive, but we really believe that this process helps inform and make sure that you are spending the money that's needed, but it's also based on the educational needs for your students. As part of the process, we're in the feasibility study phase right now, and we'll be coming to conclusion on December 4th, where the building committee will have to select a preferred solution. But as part of the process, we're required to look at 3 different alternatives. One is a code upgrade repair only to your existing building. It does not address or change your educational needs. And MSBA really won't support that if it does not address your educational needs, but they want to use that as a baseline. What would it cost just to bring your building up to code? We'll also look at a renovation and addition, as well as new construction options. But most importantly, as I mentioned, any solution really must address your educational needs. And without that, MSBA is not interested in partnering with you. We started back in February, so we've gotten to know you pretty well. There's still a lot more to learn, but we looked at many different locations on your existing site of where we could place a new building. We've narrowed it down to 2 new construction options, as well as considering a renovation and addition. The renovation and addition will meet your educational needs. It would be a single-story building in front of your existing school. It will be challenging because you have no swing space. So we will need to have at least 8 phases over a duration of 48 months. And the students will need to remain in the building. And you can see we've put quite a bit of thought already into this, and we can fine-tune this if this is the preferred solution. One of the new construction alternatives, 3E, is a 3-story building that will be built in front of the existing school. We'll be building it into the hill. You'll see this is what it conceptually would look like. And the hill would be slightly reduced and the building would be brought forward a little closer to Stockbridge Road. 3H would be a 2-story building, which would be located in your existing parking lot. And once the existing building is demolished, the parking lot would be constructed. So a temporary parking lot would be required in the practice fields with this solution. A really important consideration is what are the sustainable goals and elements that will be incorporated into your project. We're confident that we have a path to have this building be a net zero energy ready building. And while solar panels are not currently included in the project, all of the other considerations will be included as part of the project, and you can come back after with solar panels to make this a net zero energy building. And we understand how important that is in today's climate. We started looking at the various alternatives for the energy source and then the delivery of or distribution of the energy. So we've just completed what's called a preferred schematic report, or PSR, cost estimate. This is a much better cost estimate than where we were. I think that was in July, that we actually have been able to fine tune some of the aspects of the project. So I'll quickly go through it with you, and feel free to interrupt if you have any questions, or you can ask the questions afterwards. What you'll see is the remaining options, the alternative 1, which is the code upgrade repair only option. The base for all of these options is a gas boiler utilizing a VAV distribution system. When you start looking at the options going across the screen, a code upgrade alone is somewhere in the vicinity of $89 million with no educational benefit, and of course all the disruption that comes with it. The addition renovation project would require a certain construction delivery method, is what we call a construction manager at risk, given the complexity and all of the phases that are required. That would be approximately I'm really rounding up, so 129 million, where options 3E and H come with options for the construction delivery method, We can utilize the construction manager at risk, or even what's called a design bid build, or a general contractor. And those two options range in construction from approximately $120 million to $131 million. The options for the energy or the mechanical systems is important as we think about sustainability as well as the final cost of the project. The options that I'm going to show you here are all additive to the gas boiler, right? Our goal is to have an all-electric building. And we feel confident we're able to do that. We'll continue to explore a VRF system, as well as a ground source heat pump system, which you're all familiar with because that's at the middle school, and utilizing either a fan coil system or a chill beam system. And those have varying costs, but that's only part of the conversation. Utilizing a VRF system is the cost up top. So we've incorporated or deducted that cost from the gas boiler baseline. And you'll see that those costs range anywhere from $117 million to $128 million. That's just construction costs. You then have to add the soft costs in, and that includes fees. It includes construction testing, furniture, fixtures, equipment, technology, and then the contingencies, your construction and owner's contingency. So the total project costs range somewhere from 142, well, we'll start with the code repair, 114 million to just bring the building up to code and replace the systems. A new or a renovated building, the costs range anywhere from approximately $143 million to $157 million. MSBA is extremely generous, and they are able to give you additional, obviously, reimbursement. They will not participate in a code upgrade only because we are not improving or changing the educational experience for the students. Their participation varies, and we're happy to get into the detail and all of this, but once you deduct their reimbursement, there's another mechanism for savings, which is the Mass Save, which are the local utilities that also have programs to improve upon and have our buildings not rely on fossil fuel. So with the VRF system, the Mass Save program at minimum would also participate in the expense of the building of approximately $435,000. So your local share, when you really get down to what does it mean for us, is a code repair, as you can see, is 114 million. But with utilizing MSBA and Mass Save monies, an all new building or a renovation addition is actually less than that. And this ranges from 89 million to approximately $101 million. Another alternative is utilizing ground source heat pumps, and the benefit of that, it's lower energy, and it allows for additional rooftop solar panels and some other benefits. And we're happy to answer those questions as well. The building committee has not decided and does not need to decide right at this moment if it's going to be ground source heat pump or VRF, but we're just sharing with you the information that we have at this point. So utilizing ground source heat pump with a fan coil unit, which is very similar to the chill beam cost. So just talking kind of big picture. The total project costs, again, start at 114 million for just a code or repairs only to your existing building. And it will range up to $169 million. You subtract the MSBA reimbursement, the Mass Save incentives as well. So the local share really shifts, And you're looking at, again, code upgrade for $114 million. And your options will go up to approximately $112 million. We have an item below the line that's called a Potential Inflation Reduction Act incentive. There is currently a law that is now allowing non-tax-paying entities to actually take advantage of incentives to incentivize people to get off of fossil fuel or actually utilize ground source heat pumps. So while we're trying to remain conservative, that we're saying there's a potential to receive an additional $5+ million, but we won't know for sure if that program is still in existence by the completion of the project, which will be around 2029 or 2030. So we just are trying to be conservative and saying there's a potential to actually reduce the local share. Very similar to the fan coil units, utilizing a chill beam system, nuances in the distribution system within the school. The narrative really doesn't change. If you come down to the local share, it changes or shifts it by just very slightly. Again, do nothing, just fix your building at $114 million, and the cost could go up to $112 million with a potential of an additional $5 million in savings. So going back to alternative one, the code repairs, MSBA won't participate in it. So we took a step back and said, okay, if the district had to do this alone, you will have to invest in your existing building. It's 60+ years. And what are those costs, right? So if this project doesn't move forward, there are still cost implications to maintain and extend the useful life of the existing Monument Mountain School. You have, we've identified through an exhaustive evaluation of all of your systems and the exterior envelope of your building that you have an approximate construction cost of about $60 million. The state code says if you exceed the assessed value by more than 30%, you are now required to bring the building up to full accessibility, or this is the MAAB, the Mass Architectural Access Board. That actually triggers an additional $7 million worth of work that will need to go into the building. Taking it a step further, your existing building is grandfathered in, sprinklers weren't required at the time, but now code says, okay, if you do a collective amount of work over a 5-year period that exceeds 33% of the assessed value, you now have to add sprinklers into your building. So when you add all of these up, it's approximately $71 million. And then if you add the soft costs, you're at approximately $90 million. Obviously, you can imagine this will have to be extremely well thought out. Not all of the projects can be done over summers or school vacations. So it's just something to think about as we think about maintaining this existing building for years to come. So where are we? Oh, we're here tonight. So thank you for your time tonight. We'll be meeting with West Stockbridge tomorrow night. We have a building committee meeting for further discussions on the costs and the options that are being presented on Wednesday night. We'll be meeting with Stockbridge Finance Committee on Thursday night. We'd love for you to join the community information meeting on Monday night, the 25th. It's hybrid. And then the building committee will need to make a decision on what their preferred option is, whether it's a renovation and addition or new construction, and which new construction by December 4th, as we have to submit the preferred schematic report to the MSBA on the 17th. So that is really very, very high level. Love to open this up ask any questions you have, but we recognize we were short on time. And we'll have this presentation available so you can study the numbers and understand it a little bit better. But thank you.
Questions? Go ahead, Lee.
Thank you very much. This is very informative. My question centers around the use of heat pumps and green energy and whether it's going to be a green school. And you've mentioned that that's still in discussion. So I'm very much interested in where we are in that discussion. I'm aware that there are federal tax credits, you know, the more green you go. So I'd like to kind of see the balance of that and what costs we're looking at and how far you are in the discussion of having that be a green school.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I think at this point, the question isn't if, it's how. One of the options is, I'm just gonna go back here. One of the options to make this a green school and take advantage of MSBA's 3 additional reimbursement points is utilizing a VRF system, right? So that is like an air source system. It is not utilizing ground, it's using the air. And the cost of that is less than a gas boiler. So that's wonderful news, right? We will get additional MSBA reimbursement for it. And the Mass Save, you know, our utilities also will be providing additional money to help offset the cost of a VRF system. But as you can see down here below the local share line, the potential of the Inflation Reduction Act, as you just referred to it, the IRA is really focused on ground source heat pumps, so you wouldn't be able to take any advantage of that utilizing a VRF system. Ground source is absolutely still a consideration. We're actually meeting with the sustainability subcommittee meeting tomorrow to talk about the various options. Ground source, whether it's utilizing a fan coil unit or a chill beam distribution system inside, really is the most energy efficient system or production of energy. And we recognize you already have a ground source heat pump system at the middle school. Things have changed dramatically since the ground source heat pump or the wells that are installed over at the middle school. This is what we call a closed loop system. We call it shallow wells because it only drills down about 500 feet versus the 1,500 feet. It's really a totally different system than what you currently have. But it's absolutely an opportunity. You will receive the green school from MSBA, the additional 3%. I think we're factoring that to be, it's approximately $3 million more than if we didn't go with an all-electric building. Your Mass Save money incentives actually increase because everyone recognizes the value that ground source heat pumps have, and that while they are more expensive, everyone is really focused on utilizing ground source. So the Mass Save actually has larger incentives, almost 1.1 million, more than $1.1 million more than if you just went with a VRF system. And then back to your comment about the federal grants and availability, the Inflation Reduction Act does allow for non-tax-paying entities now to actually take advantage of some of the incentives and programs that they have. The challenge is, you know, is the program going to change much from now until the building is complete? It's our understanding we cannot submit for payment or reimbursement from the federal government until the building is absolutely complete and the heat pumps are connected and working. So we're saying, you know, it's somewhere around 5 million. There are other incentives out there, even for solar, that we could also tap into potentially, that are included in the Inflation Reduction Act as well. But we were saying to be conservative, you know, don't expect it, but it's out there now and we'll continue to pursue it.
So I guess my request would be to see what a ground source heat pump, that would be factored into this, because I would like to have that fully fleshed out.
Donna, can I jump in?
Sure.
I think it's an excellent question, and I just want to come back to some of my opening remarks. In terms of where we are with this project, we're here tonight because we want to engage in this exact kind of partnering and decision and considerations about what's best for the community as it relates to the cost benefit of the decision ahead. Ultimately, this will become a yes or no decision a year from now. But between now and then, we will pick a solution of all the options and a lot of the detail that Donna just shared with you. In any scenario, we'll have opportunities to then think about the value engineering and the sustainability or the greening of the building, right? So each of those decisions have costs associated to them and benefits, of course, right? You're gonna spend a little more money on more sustainable green tech, but you're gonna have a more LEED certified building. It's gonna be better for the environment. People have asked me about the career and vocational programs. You know, we wish we could have twice as many as we actually have at the high school. That would probably triple the expense of this building because those are expensive spaces to build. So we have to weigh those decisions as a community and as a committee when we think about the cost benefit of the decision that we have in front of us right now. But there will be time for that. So absolutely, notedly, we will take it under consideration and continue to think about it. I want to make sure we get to other questions as well.
Phil, and then there's someone online.
Yes, I'm just looking at the state reimbursement, the MSBA reimbursement as a rough percentage of the total project cost, and it looks like it's about a third. And if my memory serves me correct, that feels like it's like come down a bit. So the question is, am I right? And what's behind that?
So, yes, MSBA has, if you're thinking about where you were 10 years ago, MSBA has continued to increase their reimbursement, but they recognize that they have not been able to keep up with the cost of construction. So this is, you're maximizing MSBA's grant or reimbursement here, but on a percentage basis, it's less than what you were getting your first round because of the cost of construction. So MSBA now has caps on what they will participate in, if that makes sense.
So let me just hop in quickly. So both this time and last time, MSBA says, I'm talking very rough figures, we'll cover 50% of the cost. 11 years ago, 10 years ago, the cost of construction was like $350 a square foot. They could afford that. So 100% of the 350 they could do. Now it's up to $800-900 a square foot. They could not keep up matching 1-to-1. So, you know, over the last 4 or 5 years since the pandemic and inflation, now they're only meeting 2/3 of that. So they're reimbursing, and again, these numbers fluctuate, but out of an $850-900 per square foot construction cost, they're only reimbursing $650 or roughly that. They're still, and they realized that, and they said, well, if we're going to continue what we're going to do and do 100%, then we can only do out of 100 asks and 20 picks, we can only, instead of doing 20 projects, we can only do 4 or 5. So they said, it's not fair, but we're gonna spread the money around so that everyone gets a little bit less, but you still get something. So that's the problem, is that the cost of construction versus the MSBA's reimbursement has diverged over the last 5 years.
So if I may,
Yeah.
mechanically, how do they go about it the way you described it? And if they'll say, well, we'll share up to, say, I'm making up a number, half, but subject to a cap on certain aspects of the project.
So
Yes.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Donna. Yes.
Yeah, no, you said it exactly right, Jason. MSBA has caps on construction costs. So they'll say they will pay you your say 50% share up to 600, it's 645. We're hoping we have one more bite at that apple, but up to, we'll pay you 50% of the $645 a square foot. The additional cost per square foot is borne solely by the individual community. So your effective rate is less than what they say your reimbursement rate is, right?
I'm sorry, one last clarification. Are they saying, embedded in that calculation, are they saying that our costs are higher than median or an average, and therefore they're imposing a cap that's tied to the average? Or are they just saying, as you alluded to, we just don't have enough money, we're just gonna put this cap in place?
It's the later. So they're saying this is looking at the projects we have, and they're keeping the same amount of projects. So with the same amount, 17 a year, they have the same amount of money to spend, and that goes up, but not as much as unfortunately the inflationary aspect of the cost of doing business. So they have that cap, no matter what the school is, of $645 per square foot. And whether, you know, if ours was 645, we could do it, but there's, you know, no school, unfortunately.
It's a good question, but
Yeah,
they know.
and it took me, that was the first thing I looked at. It's like, the last time we were getting 50%, we're not getting 50%. And then it took me a while to understand that as well. So I'm in the same boat.
Online, there's CHP. Just state your name and address, please.
Hi, it's Ellen Lar calling on Pine Street in Housatonic. I have a question. Is this the presentation that will be presented to the community meeting in a couple of weeks or next week?
Well, it'll be a much more in-depth presentation. This is the 30,000 foot overview of the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And we're looking for feedback, if I may, at the community meeting too. We want to hear what people's thoughts and opinions are as well.
Yeah, of course.
So I guess I just have a question about the process. So the committee is gonna vote on which of these options they're gonna put forward, and then the town will vote forward. Is that?
Right, yep. So the school building committee will choose a solution, preferred solution, December 4th. And then we'll work, fine tune it over the next 9-10 months. And then fall of 2025, there will be, we'll move it on to a vote in the 3 towns.
Yeah, can I clarify that
Yes.
just specifically? So, the school building committee will choose its preferred solution in early December. One of the scenarios that you saw there, right? Just not pick the lowest number, 2C or whatever it might be. Then that option will be worked on with the design team. Donna and her team will start to build more specific detail around furniture, finishes, mechanical systems, some of the questions around green tech and things that you guys were just talking about, such that it becomes enough detail that it could actually be bid on. So after the December decision that the school building committee will make, that will be submitted to the MSBA. They will also go through their checks to say, okay, we agree with that recommendation. And they will then allow us as sort of a stage gate to move into the next section of the process, which ultimately leads to the vote, which will happen in a little less than a year, let's say sometime October, November of next year.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes. And then in terms of the cost estimates here, does that include the cost of sort of temporary buildings while construction is being done for the?
It's another great question, and one of the things that I meant to mention, when I think about this decision and costs and benefits in a return on investment type of way, to me, costs are 2 factors. One, just straight up dollars coming out of people's pockets. These are big numbers, right? The detail and estimates that we're getting are becoming more and more clear, such that we will, as soon as we have a good sense of it, break that down into more of a annual tax basis so that people can think about it in a more digestible way. The other big part of cost that we think about as a committee is the disruption or the time, right? So when you think about that ad reno, you're talking about 2 times the construction timeline, right? So you're thinking about a student or 1 or 2 classes, possibly, maybe 3 classes, where that student would spend their entire high school career in a construction project. As opposed to a new building where they would be going to school in the old building and then the new building would be being built adjacent.
Is that true for both the new building plans?
Both new building plans would be built adjacent to the current high school such that it could continue to run as it does today while construction is going on. In the ad reno option, we would have to move students around and go wing by wing. One of the little variations of the 2 new options, parking lot versus the front hill, is that if you build in the parking lot, then you have to create a new parking lot somewhere. So there are some nuances to the decisions and the disruptions that might need to be made in terms of fields. These projects are significant, so you need a big layup area. You can't just roll a bunch of trades and construction trucks into the side of the building. You need a place for all of that to land. So there are a bunch of considerations associated to the staging of the project that relate to the costs as well.
Yeah,
But I think just to add to that, there were a couple of other options that required portable classrooms, and I think maybe that's what you were asking originally. Those have been taken off the table. Again, back to Steve's comment about return on investment. No one wanted to pour money into temporary housing for students. So these remaining options would allow the students to remain in the existing building. Obviously, the renovation addition has much more disruption, but we do not require any temporary or swing space or portable classrooms with any of these options.
Garfield.
Now, one of the options is building the school into the hill, which will make it closer to the road. Now, we went through a lot of the, I won't say histrionics, but ways to get that straightened out up there. Now, what will happen when the school is closer to the road? Is everything going to remain the same? Has that been
Yeah,
taken into consideration?
I'll let Donna add to the detail here, but I think it is over 500 feet off the road, so it is not quite as close as it may look, although you are correct, it is closer. That said, Donna and her team have also started considering other options that could be considered and proposed to the Department of Transportation to think about the traffic and maybe a different entrance to the high school so that it's a safer entrance for students.
It certainly, I just for clarification, the very tip of the new school is somewhere, I think it's about 150 feet, the very tip of it from the existing road. And we would be having to build into the hill. So the hill would still be very steep, but it would not be as long as it currently is because we'll be having to put a portion of the building in the hill. But Steve, you did mention a really good point, and I'm remiss for not pointing that out, that any of the solutions that we're currently sharing with you do not include any traffic mitigation onto the site. And we recognize that's an incredibly important consideration for any solution. We have 3 different options that could potentially be implemented with any of these solutions. We're starting conversations with Department of Transportation, DOT, to see what they can do to assist us, as well as a couple of other options to improve on the traffic in and out of the site.
One other, and the total ignorance, but with the gas boiler. Now, I don't know this for a fact, but wasn't there some talk about being an issue with gas and not being so popular anymore?
Buildings are tending to go all electric. That's what is more environmentally friendly and more sustainable. Operating costs are also lower. And so, yes, you are correct.
And that's really what they're gonna end up doing, but it's a base that starts with a gas boiler and then builds out to electric.
And
Vivian Orlowski.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Could you please show the aerial of option 3H on the side where the parking lot is currently? How much are is the school building at the same elevation as the parking lot? Or would the parking lot be at a higher elevation? And also, does this arrangement enable more passive solar gain, which can also have financial impact, but it's certainly also very educational and it's important to show the passive solar, not just the electric photovoltaic. And it could also enable the use of passive solar hot water facilities, which are much less expensive and easier to apply and supply the school with hot water.
Thank you. And Vivian, look forward to seeing you tomorrow. So first question, yes, the school will be at the same elevation as the parking lot. Everything will be fully accessible. As far as the passive, and we think about, the advantages and disadvantages of the various options, this option obviously has larger footprint, which allows for more solar, but we'll also start thinking about opportunities for passive or for other opportunities for achieving or getting close to, water reduction as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Lee.
So with going back to funding, is there any opportunity or will there be any opportunity to look at possibly public-private partnerships or foundations, let's say naming opportunities such as like an auditorium or gym, or have Boyd Technologies sponsor the new wing, the science wing?
That's a question I asked Peter some time ago, and maybe he's better suited to answer it than I am, but
Well,
generally.
Steve, if I may, the MSBA, any third-party funding, they're gonna try to reduce your grant with any third-party funding. So like Williams College gave Mount Greylock $3 million or $5 million endowment. They could not use that towards any of the construction. They used it for future maintenance. They used it for the new track that they put in up there. So MSBA is gonna look to reduce your
You can't commingle those funds, right?
no.
Correct.
They have taken a step, which is very helpful, and Donna mentioned it already. These utility incentives you're getting from Mass Save or the IRA, they're allowing the district to apply those without them recouping money now, which is a positive step.
I mean, could there be a creative way to apply that? So let's say that is the case, but then they get a naming, opportunity.
If you have an opportunity to rebuild the stadium field, or like John mentioned, I thought there was consideration at Mount Greylock at one point for a pool. It would be additive to the project and likely afterwards. You can't commingle these funds with private funds.
Don't mention pools to the MSBA. We're doing one in East Long Meadow now, and they will not participate at all. We actually had to separate the pool from the main high school project as a total separate project, totally bid separate, totally different fees for the architect. It was kind of a nightmare, but
So that's not negotiable. It's just that's a.
yeah, that's one of their, yeah, they're not
But
gonna
I
build.
think,
Yeah.
but I think there's potential creative ways, as I don't know if it was Steve or John just mentioned, where we could come back and, put the solar on or supplement the furniture and equipment or technology, right? And so maybe there are other creative ways of doing it after the fact. But MSBA will make sure that if you are receiving additional money, they want to also benefit in that.
Sharon? Yeah, that would be helpful, so everyone can hear you. Take your time.
Sharon Gregory. Okay.
Don is the one who's got it on.
My question is, in each of these scenarios, how many VOTEC programs are assumed in it? And are there specific ones, because I know some are more costly than others, more capital intensive?
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah,
would
Peter
that-
can answer that. There's both VOTEC and Pathway, so it's a really good question.
Right, and so, to the degree that, the MSBA may reimburse us at different rates, or you can tell me if they do, has that been reflected there? And I guess it would not, take into account the reimbursements we would get if people choiced in to popular programs, and that would be more like in operating costs?
Correct. Yeah, Peter, you want to answer? Thank you.
Yeah, so just quickly, the three programs we have that are chapter 74, like state-of-the-art approved vocational programs, our horticultural, automotive, and our early childhood program. Then we have a number of pathways. So there's one in woodworking, advanced manufacturing. I'm missing. Oh,
Business, healthcare, yeah.
healthcare, health sciences. We're in conversations with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education and the MSBA about potentially adding a fourth chapter 74 program. Okay, so that's where we're at that. Your question about tuition. So the vocational programs are able to accept students and charge approximately $25,000 per student to enroll in a vocational program. The Great Barrington people are familiar with that because a couple kids go to Taconic and Pittsfield and we pay that, right? So we could do the same to other places, but that would impact our operating budget, not the
Right,
capital.
But on the gross expense of the capital expenditures, that's been baked in here,
Yes, it's all.
Yes.
like 4 programs?
Right now, it's three.
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 We're in conversation about the fourth.
Just to be clear, all three options have all of the same programs. There's no difference in them. I think you also asked about that.
Thank you. Darrell?
If I remember correctly, when we had this meeting, last September, December, the September before we had down in Sheffield, and everyone met. I could swear at the time we had talked about an electrical or automotive or something. Plumbing. I see none of that.
We at that point we also talked about plumbing or electrical, and those conversations are still in place potentially for the fourth program.
Yeah, automotive is part of this.
I just want to make a quick point. I think we all are very keen. I rely heavily on employees with career technical education for the workforce. Coming back to that cost benefit analysis, when you become a Chapter 74 program, there's a certain equipment list that you must furnish the program with. So you may have to buy a couple $1 million worth of equipment for an automotive program, and maybe that's appropriate. This is that decision that we'll all want to make as a community. But to the degree that we can also offer a manufacturing innovation pathway that doesn't require us to spend a lot on capital equipment, but does allow us, to Lee's question, to partner with community members who have excess equipment or the ability to share in some of the work that they do, then that could be an effective and efficient way to provide a career technical education without being strapped by the requirements of DESE and a Chapter 74 program. So those are some of the decisions that we'll be making, but we all agree the economic impact and the multiplier effect of being able to train a workforce that can go out and work in our community and then spend that money at the movies or at at the local restaurants has a big effect. And so we very much are focused on what the economic impact is of a building that is optimized for chapter 74 or innovation pathways. So the important part to your question about like, have you baked in assumptions? What we've thought about is the space that's needed for, I'll just use manufacturing as an example. You need a high bay in order to do some of that work. It's not a 10-foot ceiling, it's a 14-foot ceiling or something like that. We can build a high bay area, but it doesn't necessarily have to be chapter 74. It could become chapter 74 if we decide it's worth it. But at the same time, you could make the decision that the building is optimized to provide career technical training to our community in a way that's just as meaningful without strapping us to some of the DESI requirements for capital. So.
Glad you're on our committee.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Lee.
Sorry for all the questions. Are each option, every option that you've shown, is the community benefit the same? Meaning that, one of the presentations you talked about, having community benefit, let's say, adult education after hours, or being able to kind of shut off part of the school and have some night classes. Are they the same for each option, or they're different?
They are. That's something
Yeah, so yes, the answer is yes. There are nuances, right? This is a 2-story building. So the layout will be slightly different than a 3-story building, but we are committed to making sure that all of these options meet your educational program, meet your spatial relationships and adjacencies, and allow you community access in a safe manner. So yes, so auditorium, gymnasium, even media center, cafeteria to a certain extent, right? And then we've even started thinking about, okay, what about night school or other programs at night? And so those conversations, we'll continue those conversations during the next phase, during schematic design, once we have a preferred solution, so that we can hone in on the nuances of the preferred solution. But yes, yeah, we're pretty excited. They really all are great. Again, almost personal preference in some instances, why one might be better than the other. And so we're looking forward to lively conversations at the building committee and the community forum, which is really important to get people's input.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Phil.
One brief question and a brief answer is fine if you need time. It looks like you've made a decision that essentially a flat roof structure is appropriate. So I'm sure you put a lot of thought into this, but given the history of the building, did you go down a different path to see if that was necessary?
John,
or Donna.
this is John's favorite.
You know,
Asked if we could use the existing roof.
Yeah.
Let's paint over.
well, yeah, so yes, I think what everyone actually responds negatively to isn't the flat roof of your existing building, right? It's the kind of facade or the surround of your flat roof that has been the problem child. It is incredible. We've spent numerous hours with Steve Sewell, Director of Operations, and trying to figure out how can that be fixed. They've tried and tried and tried, and they've just given the paint and everything else, they've just not been able to make that attractive or fix the problems that currently exist there. But the flat roof itself is fine. Flat roofs are typical in any of these large facilities, whether it's an educational facility or others. This allows for us to place the mechanical equipment on the roof. This gives you opportunities to place solar on the roof. They're not flat, right? They all pitch and they drain, and then you obviously address the drainage appropriately with it, as opposed to putting gutters on the side of a roof, right? Can you imagine having to maintain gutters on, let's see, I think this is about what's the footprint of this? It's like
75,000.
75,000 square feet of dealing with gutters and everything else. So It's very, very common to have flat roofs, especially on a large facility such as this.
Ann, go ahead, we'll take.
I hear you say that you'd also at some meeting be talking about what the timeline is for the expenses and the costs over the course of the, it sounds like it's a 3 or 4 year or 5 year project, or is it all upfront?
Yes, we have already gone through, and you know, Donna can speak to it in a little more detail if you want, but we have already made assumptions about the construction time for each of the options, which is why when I was talking about the disruption for the ad reno as compared to the new buildings, either option are generally about the same construction time. But an ad reno would be about 2x that, because you have to build it in sections, you have to move kids around, and you have to just do it a little more piecemeal. So, you know, you have 48 weeks, I think it was, as compared to.
48 months. So renovation addition, obviously the disruption of not having a swing space, and it's not worth the added money to go rent swing space. I think we were saying at one point it was like $3 million. And then where do you even put them? And then the accessibility, right? So, but for new construction, you almost want to think about it in 2 phases. We're anticipating that the construction of the school itself will be about 24 months. We move the students into the school, and then we have to demolish the existing school, right? So I'm going to zoom in. Is this easier? Can you see the red dashed line on this? So you have to build a new school. It's about 24 months. We move the students in, and then phase 2 would be demolishing the existing building and then completing the site, filling the hole and putting in the site amenities. So we think about 30 months is the appropriate timeline, 24 for the school, plus the remaining 6 months to complete the site, compared to an addition renovation would be, you know, a solid 48 months of construction.
Okay, we're gonna take one more question, then we have to move on. There's someone online. Just state your name and address.
Yes, hi, it's Frank Gunsberg, 26 Hemlock Hill. Just a question about anything that isn't going to be modernized or touched. Have you done an analysis of what the useful life might be so that we aren't walking into a buzzard's nest here in the future, because we didn't account for what might, for example, it's not the roof because you've discussed the roof, but let's say the roof is 15, 20 years old and it's got another 5 or 10 years to go. Just concerned about what the useful life discussion might be 5 years down the road. Whoa, we need another $200,000 that we didn't anticipate. I'm assuming you've done that, but I'm just asking the question.
Maybe you could, I think I understand your question. All of these, especially the renovation, including the renovation addition, would be like brand new, right? So there'll be nothing untouched in a renovation addition. You will have all new equipment, you'll have all new mechanical systems, a fire suppression system, sprinklers, everything. It would be as if it was brand new.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I'm not concerned about new. I'm concerned about what's behind the curtain in the future that may not have been anticipated. I'm not suggesting that there's anything. I'm just concerned that we'll wind up with a bill 3, 4, 5, 8 years down the road that we didn't anticipate in this project, because we did everything new where we did new, but we forgot it. We forgot about the stuff that's going to eventually wear out that hasn't been anticipated. I don't know if that's understood, or I'm not being clear.
I don't know. Let me try again. So right, with any of these options, there will be maintenance and replacement, right? A roof usually lasts 20 years, right? So you'll have a warranty. I know we're picking on the roof and that's easy, but you'll have a warranty on the roof for 20 years. So, but after 20 years, you are going to have to start thinking about having to replace your roof, or with, say, the VRF system, right? That life span of a VRF system is about 15 years. But beyond that, so just like at your house or, your car, right, you're going to have to start replacing aspects of a building over the duration of time. But for the renovation addition, we don't anticipate all of a sudden saying, oh boy, we didn't open that wall and we didn't anticipate finding a problem. Everything will be brought up to new construction with a 75-year lifespan.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
That wasn't, I don't want to delay the meeting. But
Okay,
that
I'm
wasn't my
sorry.
question. My
I'm
question
sorry.
has nothing to do with the new stuff. It has to do with, have we bothered to even think about anything? And I don't know what it could be. Anything in the building that isn't going to be new or modernized or brand new, that maybe is a maintenance issue down the road. I don't want to take up any more time, but that's my concern. Things that are not about what you're doing, but what about's left behind that isn't going to be touched that could cause expenses. Sorry.
That's okay, thank you.
Really quickly, and then we want to respect the rest of the agenda that you have tonight, and I want to thank you for your time. One of the things that we do talk about, to answer your question, is it's hard to future-proof any type of decision or building. That said, we are focused on not picking alpha prototypes. We're not putting something so cutting edge or brand new that it's unproven or unknown. And so we have thought through in great detail every possible thing that we can. That doesn't mean that there won't be useful life and that there won't be preventative maintenance that needs to be done, but we're not putting something in that doesn't have a certainty to it relative to its future use. In fact, I think the one thing that will be most difficult to address relative to your question is equipment. The minute that you put technology into a facility, and I speak from personal experience on this, it's outdated, right? And so I think that's something in the career and technical educational programs we think a lot about. Is it's very difficult to future-proof programs. And so again, we'll be thinking about trying to have flexible spaces that can continue to grow as technology evolves, and we'll try to choose proven solutions that aren't brand new alpha prototypes. They'll be beta and they'll have a little bit of experience behind them.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, everyone, for coming. This will be the first of many discussions, so thank you.
And please join us on the 25th if you
And
want to
it's
learn
available
more.
both in person and virtually, so if you can't make it in person, join.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a
What's
great
it?
evening.
Town site, website?
Thank you.
This presentation tonight? Yes. This was part of our regular meeting, yes.
Yeah, I also will point people to the website. We do have a building project specific website. So we can make sure that you get that as well. It comes out in a lot of Peter's emails and others.
MineMountainBuildingProject.org. Yeah, the bottom.
Right here. Yep.
Thank you, everyone. We are
Great.
going to continue. Thank you. Good
Thank
seeing
you.
Yeah,
Nice seeing
we're
you.
adjourning the finance committee portion of it, and we're going right to the select board. Okay. Select board portion of the meeting, license and permits, host community agreement application, Peak Collective, 325 State Road, Great Barrington.
Gonna go ahead and
Yep.
promote. See.
Okay,
How are you?
good. Let's wait for David to get on.
Okay.
And Mark, do you want to start this also?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, Dave, your mic is open and I'm sorry.
So David Lappin,
Okay, perfect. I think I'm on.
Don't see the other
No.
person here.
Yeah.
Okay. So, if you mind if I just
Yeah,
started
please
real
start.
quickly? Okay, so we have 3 host community agreements on the agenda for this evening. Kate's here to represent
3A on your agenda. All three of these are, we'll do them one at a time, but all three of these are familiar locations and locations previously approved by this board. The only difference is that we believe these new templates are fully compliant with the CCC's new regulations, and the ownership has changed in one case. And that's the case that Kate's here for. Drafts were included in your packet, and our attorney, David Dineski, is here on the line with us tonight. If you have any questions or concerns you want to run by him.
Hi, Kathleen McCormick, Merton Marcus. I'm here today on behalf of my client, Peak Collective LLC. I'm here today with one of the three of the leadership, Chris Lynch, and then Bill Heck and Dave Ross are I believe both online at the moment. We are here for 325 State Road. If this board recalls, it was the location that had been previously approved for Valkyrie. And this is a total different ownership group. It's a 3,000 square foot standalone business building across from the Price Chopper Plaza and what is known as White House Square. There's a lease. My clients are coming in and doing no site changes. The site plan that was already approved by the previous applicant who had an HCA with you is fully built out. There was one requirement that Chris Rumble and I talked about regarding trees that my clients are agreeable to follow through, even though the last owner hadn't done that as part of the site plan approval. Nothing else is changing. Traffic flow is not changing. None of the operations is actually all built out. It already had a CCC license. But the prior person that had the HCA with the town has withdrawn and no longer has occupancy of that space. And my clients are under a lease for occupancy with that place. We had a community outreach meeting on October 3rd. I wasn't available to be there, but my associate Haley Shop was there as well with my clients. I know Garfield attended the meeting. There was no other complaints from neighbors or any other input that we received from the community. And we have reviewed the new HCA that Attorney Dineski has been working with Mark. We have no problems, and we would gladly agree to enter into that agreement with the HCA.
For people online, just so they understand, just again, to make it clear, what we're approving tonight is the host community agreements. The contents of those have changed considerably because of the CCC regulations. So we're approving templates of host community agreements, not the locations or the shops. Those have already been approved previously.
Both of your clients are on that, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
They're here if you have questions, but
Okay.
maybe it's not.
Eileen, let me just ask, you have a question, Eileen?
I do have a question. Kathleen said that the store is opposite Price Chopper, but Price Chopper is on Stockbridge Road, not State.
Oh, sorry, that was my mistake. Stockbridge Road.
Yeah, it's
25 Stockbridge.
yeah, it's
Road.
actually wrong in the cover letter. You're right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eileen.
Thank you.
Okay, questions?
Yeah, no, the one thing I was thinking of, Kathleen actually already sorted that out, is I was just going through the previous things, and it was about the trees that, with the planning board that never actually came through, so just was double checking that was,
Yeah.
we're gonna fill out the site plan as.
Yeah, prior to our community outreach meeting, I reached out to Chris Rumble to see if we should go back to the planning board. And it was determined that as long as we were making no alterations and would comply with the conditions, that we did not need to go. So I confirmed with Chris in writing that we will before we operate. And I don't believe we'll get a certificate of occupancy without those conditions being submitted, and we can't, the CCC won't allow us to operate without the building inspector and the town signing off on that. So you get another kind of bite at the apple at that point. They always ask to make sure there's no zoning infractions before you open. So we'll make sure those trees get planted. Everything else, was already built out by the previous applicant. We're proposing no changes.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the host community agreement to Peak Collective on 325 Stockbridge Road, subject to final review by town council.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So a 4-1 vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is host community agreement renewal. OBCC LLC, 82 Railroad Street, Great Barrington. Yeah.
Go ahead and open the mic for Jason. Jason, your mic is open.
Hi, I'm Jason Cabus, here on behalf of OBCC LLC, looking to move forward on our host community agreement at 82 Railroad Street.
Any questions?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have
go ahead.
a few
Yeah.
questions for this one. So, you know, this host agreement in this location has been approved by previous boards. I take slight issue with the fact that, this site has been sitting dormant for an extreme amount of time. It's a location that's vital in our downtown area, and, the last time it was brought before us, we were also, I believe, informed that construction was shovel ready. So I was wondering what the plans were, timelines and whatnot for investments and construction phase. And I do understand the CCC, has its own time frame, but I want to know immediately how quick construction will start and how quickly you'll be ready to get approved by the CCC as far as doors opening.
Fair questions. I'd say approximately 6 to 8 months to be fully ready for final approvals. I would think for permitting and construction phase, that would likely be around 4 to 5 months. And then those last couple months are just essentially regulatory walkthroughs. As far as this site sitting dormant for some time, we've actually been through 3 phases of redesign, just paring down and value engineering our plan. We've landed on a designer that we like, have a construction budget and timeline that we like, and we've diligenced this building crew and think that they can do a very good job fitting within our budget and hitting the timeline.
So I guess I would just ask that that would be noted on this record here for that.
As part of the motion?
Part of the motion.
Yeah. What timeline do you want to put on?
I would say that 8 months that the store will be ready for the CCC walkthroughs, as the gentleman just stated.
Okay, anyone else? Lee, do you want to try that motion or do you have a
I just have
question?
one question.
Yeah.
Do you have any expectation to use the outdoor patio or that outdoor area?
Yes, but not necessarily for consumption or anyone hanging out per se. But yes, we would plan on using that.
Could you tell us how, please?
It would likely just be employee parking. If the township actually has another plan or any proposal that they would like to put forth for a best and highest use for that space, we would absolutely be open to it. We'd at one point considered expanding the building into that area, but that capital expenditure was on the order of 1.1 million to do that entire build out. And that just didn't align with the financing we had. So we're no longer planning on expanding the building beyond its current square footage. But yes, that side patio would simply just be I think for employee parking or possibly break area.
So just to follow up with that, on the under the number 2 authorized operations, we just have it's just noted as a marijuana retailer. And be clear, there's no social consumption or any of that on this establishment.
No, I mean, I don't think that, well, first of all, as a company, we don't permit that, and we don't try to have consumption licenses at a dispensary. But secondly, I don't think that that would be conducive to just the general public's use of that area, meaning that there's public parking next door, the movie theater is nearby. There's a lot of folks that are just kind of coming and going to that center place of business. So I just don't think that would make sense to have any sort of consumption there.
Right.
So I had a question. So if on-site consumption becomes legal in the Commonwealth, how does that work?
They would have to come back to us.
They have to
correct?
come back
Yeah.
to us, or could we put something in?
No, they'll have to come back to us.
That's definite.
Yeah.
One of the check boxes on the application.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's try for a motion.
I move that we approve the host community agreement for OBCC LLC 82 Railroad Street, Great Barrington, subject to final review by town council.
And what about Eric's?
With the
8 months to completion of store.
Okay, so that's a motion, and I have a second.
Second.
Any other discussion? See,
Sorry,
Yeah.
just to confirm, Jason, that was the time frame that you were saying, the 8 months to completion of the store?
Correct.
all, yeah, no, it's good. All in favor?
Aye.
And one opposed, 4-1. Thank you very much. Last. Host community agreement renewal for Great Barrington Dispensary, 454 Main Street.
We have Krishna here to represent this application.
And-
Your mic is open.
Hello.
Hello. So this is simply a renewal of an existing business.
That's correct.
So-
We're just bringing our HCA up to compliance with the state regs.
Correct. So do I have any questions?
Just similar to the last one, on under section 2 on this form here, authorized uses, nothing is actually checked. I assume it's just a retail license that we're checking this box for, or?
Good observation. Do you have that in front of you, Krishna?
Yeah, that's I think I was talking to David about that. It just needs to have the retail store checked, and we're also
So just one box checked? Okay.
if we can.
Mr. Chair, I think Mr. Gandhi just cut out, but I believe there was a question regarding also operations as medical marijuana. And I think we would need to hear what the status of any proposal for that to the Cannabis Control Commission is, if that's something that indeed is being pursued or requested.
Yeah, are you able to hear me? It did cut out on
Yes.
you.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're good.
Yeah, I mean, the main priority is obviously just renewing our retail license there. But if there is the option to have a host community agreement that allows for medical, we would still have to pursue the state license on that. We wouldn't have to come back to the town. Nothing would change operationally at the store other than people with Massachusetts medical cards would be able to buy medical cannabis, not just recreational cannabis.
Usually we wait till the state approval before we do the host community agreement, correct? Mark?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Typically the state won't touch anything until we have local host community agreement and special permit in hand. That's their first step for a provisional license, is to review the host community agreement, make sure the local communities are on board with it, and then they'll issue a provisional license.
I don't have a problem with it because medical is such a regulated part of this that it's not going to affect it.
I don't have an issue with
Yeah.
the medical portion either. I just wanted to make sure that all the right boxes were being checked on this form before we move on from it.
Okay, so the motion, just to be clear, just because it's not checked, we'll say medical marijuana and marijuana retailer,
And retail and no
nothing
other
else.
box.
Right,
Yes, that'd be appreciated. Thank you.
okay. So I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You're okay, Garfield? You were voted for, okay, so 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
David, thank you.
You're welcome. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Okay, next we have a driveway permit application at 32 Mahawi LLC, 32 Mahawi Street. Is there someone here? Yep, there we go. Just a little overview of.
Yeah, so my name is Peter, this is my wife Beatrice, we are, we have a property in Sheffield. Multi-family mixed-use commercial residential, and we recently purchased this property in August. And historically, there's one residential unit and mostly commercial, but I think the biggest drawback to this property is there's no parking. There are 3 spaces in the back. We actually also purchased a lot next to it, to the right. But there's no parking. So we're trying to basically put a small parking space there, about 5 cars. I think currently the only issue we really have is that there is a tree. We're not sure if that's in the town space or ours. It's in Norway maple. The guy that does our garden and actually will install the parking lot informs us that it's an invasive species. So, and it's kind of already very rotten. Depending on where it lies, I think the plan might be to either remove it or, box it in and bring them to the work. And then at a later stage, remove it from, like I said, if it's town or ours.
Well, what I see here from the tree warden is it appears to be a town tree, older Norway maple with some decay in the trunk area. The driveway cut is not too close to the tree, then a protection fence placed at the edge of the drip line around the tree. It's not the greatest specimen to start with, so if the driveway is closer, then we should consider removing it with a replacement per our bylaws, which means you would replace our town tree. Yeah. 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 So that's what I'm getting here. So I would ask in the motion that it says that you would work with the DPW superintendent to get this. Yeah.
So has the tree committee weighed in? I know the tree warden has, but.
We've been told that we first need to get the permit for the parking space and then we can move forward with taking care of the tree.
So if we want to keep the tree.
If you want to keep the tree, it's possible. Our guy said that we just have to, well, I'm not sure exactly what he means, but basically protect it while they do the work. Yeah.
So my motion would be to keep the tree or talk to the tree committee and see, have them weigh in at least.
Yeah, I think the second part of that, because I don't want them to keep the tree and have it die in a year.
Yeah, I'd like to hear the tree committee.
Yeah,
weigh
I'd
in.
like to, so put that as part of your motion, that's fine.
Okay.
The DPW superintendent, the tree committee weigh in. I'm sure we can.
And then they would come back if the tree committee wanted to ensure that.
Not to us.
Yeah.
We'll let them make the decision.
Okay.
There's gonna be a tree there one way or another, whether it's that tree or a new one. So there's gonna be a tree.
Yeah, but who's gonna make the decision on?
I would leave it up to the tree committee and Joe.
They could weigh in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see any reason we have to get involved.
Okay.
Meaning the best of both worlds, if this tree is really dying, we get a new tree. If it's not, we get to keep this tree. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the driveway permit application at 32 Mahawi LLC on 32 Mahawi Street, Barrington, providing that the tree committee weigh in with the DPW.
Good. Do you have a second?
A second with
Yes.
just this other.
Yeah.
Item that Joe put in here too.
Assume that the traveled way will not be disturbed or interrupted by construction equipment. In the event the traveled way is to be interrupted, the police chief needs to be contacted with regards to a detail officer.
That goes part of the motion.
Second.
Yeah, fair. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Good luck to you. Betsy, I saw you here. There she is. License applications for Southern Berkshire Chamber of Commerce Holiday Stroll in downtown Great Barrington on Saturday, December 14th, 2024 from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. And there are 3 licenses, which we'll do all at once unless there is some discussion.
Yeah, Steve, I'm just gonna I'm on the board of the SBCC, so I'm gonna step out for this one.
Okay, sounds good. And I'll remember to call you back. Betsy, you want to give, I think at this point, everyone knows what the stroll is, but just dates, times and a little,
There's so much going on.
right. And what's new this year? There's always something new.
Yeah, we're gonna start a little early this year. Mason Library is gonna start from 2 to 3 rather than 3 to 4 as they have in the past. Because Aston Magna is gonna do an interactive family performance from 3 to 4 this year. We created a new market area behind Pittsfield Co-op Bank, which is called Sweets and Scholars, and it's for all of our high schools that do fundraisers and games to raise money for trips and whatnot. So that'll be behind there. Along with a really cool deluxe hot chocolate bar. This year you can do a little yoga and get stretched before you do your shopping at Greenhouse Yoga. That's new. And we have the Festival Latino with the Berkshires is going to do singing at the top of Railroad Street this year, which is new. Other than that, it's all the big fabulous things that we have every year, like ice sculpting, a movie at the Mahawi. You know, everything is free as always. So any family feels comfortable coming, knowing you're gonna have a great time. I'm happy with them. Any.
Well, let's start with a motion, then we'll ask questions. I think because no liquor in this, we can do it as one motion.
I move that we approve the license applications for the Southern Berkshire Chamber of Commerce holiday stroll on Saturday 14th from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. The one-day entertainment license, the hawkers and peddlers license, and give them permission to hang banners on light poles on Railroad Street.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Questions?
Are there fireworks?
There are, Big Y has come forward to sponsor fireworks this year. Right, and so they will be the normal time, we'll do the menorah lighting, the canara lighting, and then the town tree lighting, and then we'll do the fireworks.
What time, just for people?
Roughly 7:10-ish.
7:10. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I hear Kwanzaa mentioning that.
Yeah,
Yes, she did. She did.
How do you pronounce it?
I hear.
Canara?
I meant it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they
That's
are in
good.
there, yes.
Right. All in favor?
Hi.
Unanimous. Good luck to you. We look forward to it. Okay. Thanks, Betsy.
Love some extra copies, so if you want to give them out.
Okay, great. Ben? Next is the license applications for the Mahawi Performing Arts Center, 20 Castle Street. We'll do this two separate votes. Go right ahead, introduce yourself and tell us an update. We've already heard about this. That's great. So.
Director, Performing Arts Center. And we are opening a second venue next door to the Mahawi in the old, now restored firehouse. The owners of the firehouse have got their certificate of occupancy. So we have been building a stage and a bar and are coming to you looking for our common victualler license. We intend to do, we have our liquor license in place. We intend to do prepackaged foods only. We don't have a commercial kitchen and we're not in the food business. But we do want to be able to offer concessions during performances. And then we're also looking for our annual entertainment license for weekends and weekdays and Sundays.
And not Sunday. Right. Yeah, it's a Saturday license. So do I have a motion for the common victualler?
I would like to move that we approve the license application for the Mahawi Performing Arts Center at 20 Castle Street for the common victualler.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. One more to go.
I move that we approve the license application for the Mahawi Performing Arts Center for the annual entertainment weekday and Sunday license.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. We're looking forward to this. This is terrific. The next one is Select Board's announcement statements. One of these comes under the definition of bittersweet. And we will take that first. Lee Davis is resigning as of December 31st, 2024 from the board to take her position at the State House, and we are very excited about it, but we'll miss her. So do I have a motion? Eric?
I make the motion to accept the resignation letter of Lee Davis from the select board.
With regret.
With regret.
Yes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The 4 votes. Lee, we wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, I just, want to thank the board. You're not getting rid of me yet, but this has been a wonderful opportunity and it's been my honor to serve the residents of Great Barrington, but I'll see you for a couple of months.
Good. Okay, select board's announcements and statements. Ben?
Nothing much for me, other than to thank Lee, for the service to town, and I look forward to all of the good work you will.
Garfield?
Second to that, I also want to thank the Lake Mansfield folks, and see they planted a bunch of trees and just to keep looking better and better all the time.
Agreed. Eric?
Yes, I just wanted to make an announcement that on Thanksgiving, we're gonna do the Koozie Hustle again. A group of us and everybody in the community is welcome to join us. It's a 2-mile or 6-mile option run. Registration starts at 9 o'clock at the back of the cemetery off of Van Duzenville Street in Housatonic. Walkers, kids, leash dogs are welcome, and it's just up the Hoosie Rail Trail. It's a little bit of a fundraiser event. We just have a little jar there if people want to put money in it. And this year, every year we do it for something different. This year it's Christmas gifts for all fun. So hope everybody can join us, come out, get that run or walk in. That way you can have that third piece of pie guilt-free on Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you.
If we just want to make a monetary donation.
We just, we just have a little jar out there, so just kind of throw it in and the organizers of this fund here collect it. And
I'm gonna be pretty busy that day, so I won't be able to, so that's why I want.
I'll give you a contact for it. Sheila's helping with that section of it, so.
Great. Lee?
Just to mention a shout out to Monument Mountain Regional High School. I was honored to participate in the November 13th Career Day that a group of us went and spoke on November 13th, as I said, to the 10th graders. And it was great. I was there with the Great Barrington Police Department folks and Archer and a lot of other local businesses. And Sean Flynn, big shout out to Sean Flynn for organizing it, the guidance counselor. And I hope to be able to do this every year. This is my 2nd year doing it. So kudos to everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you. We have minutes in our packet sent to us October 21st, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of October 21st, 2024.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Town managers report, a little backwards tonight, but
Yeah.
not the
before-
report, but the agenda.
Before we get to that, did you want to talk as a board about the special election or not?
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's good point, Mark. I got emotional on this and, so there's 2 ways to fill the seat, and because of the timing, and that timing would be that we're already into middle of November. And by the time we did papers and everything else, we would be well into 2025, probably February. And the next election's in May. We have 2 choices as a board. One is to have a special election, which costs about, did I see Mark, $6,000?
About $6,000, yeah.
Or the other is just the 4 of us struggle along until May. And the only implications on that are, and Chris is aware of this, if there is a special permit, which there is none right now that I'm aware of, it would have to be unanimous as opposed to a super majority. So, yeah.
I guess if there was a special election anyhow, it would only entail to the end of the term, which is May anyhow, correct?
Correct. So it's really not much of a decision, but it's one we still have to make. So if we just want to have a motion to leave the seat vacant until the May election, that would probably be the most appropriate.
I will make that motion now, so moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, with one abstention. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you. Just wanted to have that information.
Yeah, no,
Pass along
I
to
appreciate
the
that.
So town manager's report, Houstonic Water Works Relief Program. In your packet for tonight is an executive summary, an updated one. So back in September of 2023, this board approved a $300 per household reimbursement for Houstonic Water Works customers. I'm sure you recall Houstonic Water Works customers residing in Houstonic. And that included costs associated with water filtration, with bottled water purchases, and laundry related expenses. Since we've only used about $30,000 to date of the $250,000 earmark, I updated the recommendation in a revised executive summary, like I mentioned, doubling that amount from $300 to $600. The 2023 amount of $300 would have allowed you to reimburse 830 households. This new $600 amount would allow you to just cut that in half to 415. And I want to just be clear, assuming you approve this, that households that applied in round one would now be eligible for an additional 300, and anyone who is a first-time applicant would now be eligible for up to $600. And a few people have asked me whether we could reconsider the scope of work that was approved by DEP that requires receipts to be submitted to the town. And the short answer is no. The scope of work wouldn't change. That we'd have to go back to the state and ask them to reconsider. And I do not believe they would reconsider that decision. So at this time, what's on the table is a consideration by this board to just double the reimbursement amount or any other amount you think is.
I like what I see. I guess I just want to make it clear, because I find when I'm out talking to folks that there's a lot of confusion as far as the receipt collection, and they're like, well, I never saved any receipts, but you can save receipts starting today going forward, or if you have some left, it does. And I feel like there was some confusion in that in the past, so I just want to make sure that that's clear moving forward. If you are buying water or filtration, or you have water delivered to your house, you just need to start saving those receipts now. If you buy a water filtration system now for your house, save that receipt, and then that's how you get this reimbursement. And then there's a lot of sites on the town website, very easy form to fill out, and people are willing to help. So I think moving it up is good, and I hope people really start taking advantage of it, because there is an extreme need for it. So thank you.
It is a very simple one-sheeter form. We are happy to assist anyone that needs some help with it here. If there's a fillable PDF on our website, there are paper copies here in Town Hall. I believe there are paper copies distributed in Houstonic as well. And yeah, we are trying to make it as easy and accessible as possible for folks.
Mark, what's the process for the households that have already gotten $300 to apply?
We have every application tracked right now. So if someone's already applied, they can submit an additional $300 worth of receipts. And again, just like Eric said, there's no requirement to have saved those receipts, just start saving them now.
Yeah.
The funding is available, I think, through 2026, so we have plenty of time.
And if they've already submitted receipts more than $600, do they?
If they have, we have them.
Yeah.
So we'll work with them to correct their application.
Okay. They don't have to fill up a form.
No, we're required to keep all of that documentation for 10 years. That was part of the approved scope of work. So we have it. We'll sit down with folks and update their application to reflect 600 if they did submit more than the original 300 the first time.
Do I have a motion?
I move that we accept the executive summary as revised and presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Discussion further. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. It's terrific.
Thank you. Moving on, our annual town meeting scheduling poll. This is something that we discussed at the last meeting. And I just wanted to share tonight, I don't have any results of that poll because it's still active, but I just wanted to share that the poll has been, or the survey, whatever you want to call it, has been created. It's been shared on our social media accounts. It's been shared on our website. As of this afternoon, I think we had about 170 responses, so we're doing pretty well. I will bring back to you, well, you'll see it in your packet at the next meeting. This topic will be, your annual town meeting calendar will be on the agenda for discussion, and I will bring you the poll results at that time.
Right. New business. Moderate priority topics from the July planning session, specifically childcare. This is an update. We normally would do a January priority update. We are going to skip that. We'll do it in June like we're supposed to, either with an interim town manager, Chris, or with a new town manager. There's just not a lot of sense to do it in January, but this, we want to keep on there. And I think, Ben, you wanted to talk about this and maybe form a committee?
Yeah. On the agenda.
Yeah.
I wanted to just read a little bit from, so earlier this year, Governor Healy signed an executive order establishing an interagency task force on ensuring affordable, high-quality childcare. Just to read a couple of the bullet points in that order, just to remind everyone why I think this is so important. High-quality childcare lays the foundation for all children to thrive academically and socially. And access to affordable, high-quality childcare can be a key driver of economic growth and mobility by enabling families of all income levels to participate in the workforce. Childcare costs in Massachusetts are high, and more childcare is needed than the childcare system currently can provide. All of these things are true, and having an administration at the State House that is focused on this, I think, is a great opportunity. This is an issue that is impacting our community. I can speak to that firsthand. I am lucky enough to be able to afford childcare, and now I'm lucky enough to have my child in the great pre-K system at school. But even for families that are lucky enough to get into a program like that you still have to arrange, after school care, and it adds up. Often people are paying as much as they're paying for housing, for childcare. So I think if we want to find a way to make this town truly accessible for families, and for this to be a place that people can actually choose to stay and grow into a career and have a family, we need to start looking for solutions. So the hope is forming a committee that brings in community members who are directly impacted by this, members, professionals in the field, as a way to start just kind of doing fact finding of what the best possible solution for us would be, especially as the interagency task force is moving forward.
And what, I'd like to thank you for bringing this up. I mean, this is part of my platform running for state rep, and it continues to be. And this is something that is on top of my list in terms of pursuing from a legislative level. Being a single parent of 3, you can imagine, on a very low income. I mean, I had struggles, and I still, although they're out of the house, I can identify it with it. And what I noticed in Europe that we do, and probably in other states, is that when a housing development is created, childcare is baked into it. So you have, new housing, and then you have a childcare facility inside of it. So it's something that I'm in a huge supportive of, and part of my preparations in being a state rep is to really convene like a cabinet, and childcare is one of the policies I'd like to focus on. So I will reach out to you.
Great.
Thank you.
I have a question about that. I don't know much about what happens down here, but I know some people actually have that for a business. Is that going to affect them? Will they now only get X amount of dollars for what they used to get? I don't know how that works.
I don't think
no kid.
Ben probably could answer. I don't think we've met yet, but from what I understand, I'm well past that age, but that childcare around here are all full. So we're not going to be competing. First of all, I'm not sure the recommendation is going to be that we do it. I think we help to
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's exploring all of the options, right? I think, and that's one of the things I want to do with this community is to talk to people who are currently operating childcare and early childcare in Great Barrington, to get a sense of what the current landscape is like for them and what the best way we as a town and receiving state resources could help them. You know, we're continuing to get C3 grants and just which help people actually run these businesses. The margins are incredibly slim. It's hard for people to keep these businesses open despite there being an outsized demand. So there's no, I don't think there's a risk of anything we do hurting an existing childcare operation. Everything we're looking to do would just be to find ways to bolster and then make it easier for them to actually operate these businesses.
So Mark, where would you go on this? Just,
I guess what I need to know from you is, well, first confirm that you want to form a committee, how many you'd want on the committee, do you want any specific makeup of this committee, and we'll get to work advertising.
This is just advisory, right? So
Yes,
this is-
yes, yeah. Just kind of help craft the policy and see what would be the best fit for us. I think having a mix of community members at large, as well as trying to find people who are actually professionals and policy experts in the field, the best that we can. I don't know how we craft that exactly, but.
It sounds similar to when I was on the Economic Development Committee, so I was vice chair and Steve Pacini was chair, and it was advisory, and I remember when the Housatonic School came up, we had a presentation, and we suggested having childcare in that building.
Yeah.
So it's one of these things that, you know, you'll do research, and then you might present something to the board,
Yeah, that's.
and then see where it goes.
Yeah.
I guess,
So advisory only.
Yeah.
5 members, 7 members.
I don't think you want to get too big, but you
No,
know,
I don't want too
whatever
big. I mean, 7 is probably, I mean, these means just to kind of get a variety of voices into it.
What was the breakdown again that you mentioned?
Like the exact numbers or just
no, you said
Is that
community
large?
members, but you also said professionals and then,
professionals and.
say 7 at large and
Yeah.
keep it open.
Just 7 at large.
I mean, we'll be appointing, so when we appoint, if there's someone from
Yeah.
who works in the daycare, we would give that consideration.
I have a couple of questions. One, said about the state, are they gonna supplement some of these people, and if we create, or whoever creates, a childcare, let's say in Housatonic, that's going to take away from the people that already are doing it and miss some of it, go lose some of their money unless you compensate. You know, if I have a business, I'm doing childcare, and I understand you open up another one and it's gonna be less than what I'm getting, then I'm not gonna make any money.
I don't think go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, no, yeah, and the intent of this is not to necessarily, look towards building a public option, right? It's really just looking at getting a good sense of what the current state of childcare is in the town, talking to people who are operating businesses. Compiling that data, understanding what's working, what's not in town, what we are not offering enough of. And then kind of getting an understanding of what the state's plans are, so we can kind of make the right fit for us. I don't know, if we have the resources to offer an actual public option, but I think there is a lot of work we can do as a town just to make sure we're getting all of the benefits from the state to help the local childcare providers.
Yeah, and in part of that area. I don't envision us, maybe I'm wrong, running a childcare, but there is maybe ways of funneling money to Berkshire Hills, to Berkshire South, to different places to help
Yeah, and
make what we have larger.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities. The other thing too is that we have a lack of early childcare. So until your child is 2 years and 9 months, they cannot enroll in preschool. And that makes it incredibly hard for parents of young children to re-enter the workforce for almost 2 years. So finding ways to just kind of help maybe even expand some of the current programs and then just provide the resources and just see what they can do. So that's the hope of this.
Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess that I'm just assuming, but I would say that there's nothing saying that this committee wouldn't like suggest ways of helping existing building businesses
Absolutely.
expand or just to see what they need, right? It's a general general thing that maybe the best solution is, all right, well, if we help this lady navigate or whatever, this business owner navigate with this issue of how do you get more funding to expand safety protocols and stuff like that. So it's it sounds like a well-needed thing, just to be able to wrap our brains around all the issues and red tape and how to get rid of some of it.
It's incredibly complicated, it's big. It's just, you know, I know we've kind of talked about this in the past, the worry has been, you know, putting more on the staff's plate. So I think the committee really is just kind of exploring, you know, truly understanding what the current state of it is in town and trying to find it.
This is great timing, you know, because I'm looking at this from, you know, a legislative point of view and looking at priorities and seeing, you know, what's existing in terms of bills pending or
Yeah.
to be written. So this will be a really
Yeah,
good
that's the
partnership.
thing,
Yeah.
to be ready for if something does come down with the state, be ready to take advantage of it. I think that's helpful.
So I think that it sounds like we have a plan. Okay, next is a report on the result of the November 4th, 2024 executive session regarding the release of executive session minutes.
This will be a brief report. On November 4th, as you know, in executive session, the select board reviewed and approved the release of 2 sets of minutes, both from December 16th, 2019. Those minutes will be posted on our website. They may already be, but if not, they'll be posted by tomorrow.
Thank you.
One set was related to the Rest of River Settlement Agreement, and one was related to the Roger Road ZBA matter.
Okay,
Rest of River Settlement Agreement.
citizen speak time.
Claudia Shapiro, 78
Yeah.
Marley Road. I don't want my name or my signature used in show of support of Toby Stanton Citizen Liaison, because that's not a type of committee I support.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Vivian Orlowski.
Hi, Lakeview Road. It's difficult for me to attend in person, so I just want to take a minute to use Zoom to thank Lee Davis for her years of service to our community. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, Viv. Frank.
Yes, Steve. I want to bring something to your attention. I'm Jewish, but I'm not an Orthodox Jew. And I don't know if this was even taken into consideration. I filled out the survey. And when I saw that one of the options was Saturday afternoon, I just want to remind you that if there is anybody in this town that wants to attend, either remotely or in person, if they are Orthodox, they are not going to be turning anything on and they are not going to travel. So when I saw that, I thought, you know, it may not even affect anybody, but you can't rely on that. And there are people that have hot button issues right now that I'm sure will want to stand up at an annual meeting, talk about the bridges and things like that. So I just want to bring this to your attention. I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm asking you to think about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. James.
Evening, James Garzone, 84 North Lane. Just want to say one thing. Congratulations, Lee. It's wonderful on your election, and congratulations. The second question is about Mark leaving. I know he's leaving in 2 months. I'm not sure what the plan has been, but if we don't get his replacement in time, which probably won't happen, and then Lee leaving, it leaves 2 big gaping gaps in our town government. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Yeah, that'll be on the next agenda about hiring a search firm and about plans for an interim town manager, because there's not enough time to hire someone in such a short period of time. Holidays, etc. So yeah, you're absolutely correct. Anyone else? Select board time. I think we just did this. Man.
Yeah.
Anything happened in the last 5 minutes you want to talk about? Okay, Garfield.
Nothing, thank you.
All set, thank you.
We'll still miss you, Lee. Media time. Eileen. Eileen, you're unmuted.
Oh, no, she wasn't. I'm sorry. that was-
Oh, I thought you were. Sorry.
You are now.
Yes.
Okay, do you have the report from the firm, excuse me, about the value of Housatonic Water Works?
The final report, no, we do not have that. yet.
Thank you.
I did meet with them last week. They are working on it, and as soon as we do have it, I will share it with the board and we'll get it posted on the website.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eileen. Seeing no one else by unanimous consent, we are adjourned. Thank you.